Chapter 1: Draft Evasion and Public Backlash. You know, people like to talk about courage, about standing tall when the world's got its eyes on you. But let me tell you something, courage ain't about how loud you can talk or how hard you can hit. No, courage is about standing firm when the whole world's telling you to bow. That was the year they came for me. The year they told me, Ali, you gotta go fight in Vietnam. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a fighter. Fighting's in my blood. I've been fighting since I was a kid in Louisville, Kentucky, when somebody stole my bike, and I told the cop I'd whoop the thief myself. Fighting's what I do. But this wasn't my fight. They said, you're gonna go over there and fight for freedom. Freedom? Man, I couldn't even drink from the same water fountain as a white man back home. I couldn't sit in the same restaurants. I couldn't ride the front of the bus. And you're telling me to put on a uniform, pick up a gun, and kill people who never called me the N-word? Nah. Not me. I remember the day I said no. It was like the air in the room changed. I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong, I said. And I meant it. Those words came from my soul. Why should I go 10,000 miles away to fight brown-skinned people when my own people are dying in the streets back home? But oh, the backlash came quick. They stripped me of my title, my license to box, my livelihood. The heavyweight champion of the world reduced to nothing overnight. They called me a traitor, a coward, un-American. Friends I thought I had disappeared like smoke in the wind. For almost 4 years, I couldn't step into a ring. 4 years in my prime, gone. You know what that's like for a fighter? That's like telling a bird it can't fly or a fish it can't swim. Boxing wasn't just my job, it was my life, my art, my poetry in motion. And they took it from me because I stood for what I believed in. And let me tell you, it wasn't just the career I lost. My family, my friends, they felt it too. The whispers, the stares, the judgment. I remember walking down the street, hearing people mutter, "There goes that draft dodger." It stung, man. It really did. But you know what? I stood firm. Because when you believe in something, truly believe in it, you don't let nobody shake you. They could take my title, my money, my career, but they couldn't take my soul. I wasn't afraid of jail, either. I told them, lock me up if you want. I've been in jail for 400 years. My people been in chains since we got off the boats. What's a few years behind bars compared to that? Looking back now, I don't regret a thing. Not one word, not one decision. Because that stand I took? It wasn't just for me. It was for every kid growing up in the projects, every man and woman who ever felt the weight of oppression on their shoulders. And when I finally got back in the ring, oh, it was sweet. I wasn't just fighting for titles anymore. I was fighting for something bigger, for justice, for dignity, for the right to be true to yourself. So yeah, they tried to break me. They tried to silence me. But you can't break a man who knows who he is. You can't silence a voice that speaks the truth. I'm Muhammad Ali. I shook up the world in the ring, and I shook it up outside the ring too. And I'll tell you this, I'd do it all again. Every punch, every insult, every sacrifice. Because at the end of the day, I stood for something. And that's what makes a man truly great. Chapter 2: Complex Marital History and Infidelity. Love. Love is a beautiful thing, isn't it? But it's also complicated, messy, unpredictable, and, sometimes, painful. You see, I've been blessed with love in my life, but I've also been a fool. A man can be quick with his fists, quick with his words, but love? Love takes patience, understanding, and discipline. And I'll admit, I didn't always have those. I've been married 4 times, and each of those women, Sanji, Belinda, Veronica, Lonnie, they were remarkable in their own ways. They loved me, stood by me, carried me through the highs and the lows. But me? I didn't always do right by them. My second wife, Belinda, Kalila, as she later called herself, she was a firecracker. We were married for 10 years, and she gave me 4 beautiful children. She was strong, smart, and she didn't take no nonsense from me. But even with all that, I let my eyes wander. I let my heart, and other parts of me, get the better of my judgment. You see, when you're Muhammad Ali, the champ, the greatest, the world is at your feet. Everywhere I went, people wanted a piece of me. Women, especially. And I won't lie to you, I enjoyed the attention. I soaked it up like the sun. But what I didn't see, or maybe didn't want to see, was the hurt I was causing. Belinda, she knew. She always knew. A woman has a way of knowing these things, doesn't she? And she called me out on it. Oh, she didn't mince her words. She'd look me straight in the eye and say, "You're out there making a fool of me, Muhammad. Making a fool of yourself." And she was right. I remember one argument we had. It was fiery, like a heavyweight bout in its own right. She said to me, "You're not just betraying me, you're betraying your family, your faith, your God." Those words cut deep, deeper than any punch I ever took in the ring. But even then, I didn't stop. I was young, reckless, and full of myself. I thought I could have it all, the love of a good woman at home and the thrill of the chase out there in the world. But life doesn't work like that. My actions caused pain, pain for Belinda, pain for my children, pain for myself. There were times when I'd look in the mirror and not like the man staring back at me. I'd see the hurt in Belinda's eyes, the confusion in my children's faces, and I'd feel a weight on my chest that no amount of fame or glory could lift. Do I regret it? Of course, I do. I regret the hurt I caused, the trust one broke, the moments I missed because I was too busy chasing something that didn't matter. But regret doesn't change the past. It doesn't undo the damage. All it can do is teach you, make you better if you let it. By the time I married Lonnie, my 4th wife, I had learned a thing or two. I'd learned that love isn't about taking, it's about giving. It's about respect, loyalty, and being present. Lonnie, she saw me for who I was, flaws and all, and she loved me anyway. She helped me find a kind of peace I didn't know I needed. But I'll tell you this, no matter how much I learned, no matter how much I grew, the mistakes of my past are still with me. They're a part of my story, just like the victories, the titles, and the glory. They remind me that even the greatest can fall, that even the champ can make mistakes. So, to the women I loved and let down, I say this: I'm sorry. I was young, foolish, and full of pride. But I loved you, each of you, in my own flawed way. And to my children, I hope you see the man I became, not just the man I was. Because at the end of the day, life is a fight to be better, to do better, to love better. And that's a fight I'll keep fighting until the bell rings for the last time. Chapter 3: Estranged Relationships with Some Children. Ah, my children. My legacy, my blood. They are the truest reflections of me, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And yet, when I think of them, there's a pang in my heart, a weight that I carry. Because being the greatest in the ring came with a cost. And sometimes, that cost was paid in moments I should have spent with them. I was always on the move, fighting, training, traveling, shaking hands, making speeches. The world wanted Muhammad Ali, and I gave them everything I had. But in giving myself to the world, I took something away from my children. I wasn't there as much as I should have been. Birthdays came and went. School plays, recitals, first steps, first words, I missed so many of those moments. And when I was there, I wasn't always present. My mind was on the next fight, the next city, the next headline. My daughter Mia, she's a part of this story too. Born from a mistake, from one of those times when my pride and weakness got the better of me. But let me tell you something, there was nothing mistaken about the love I felt for her. Mia was my child, my flesh and blood, and yet, there were long stretches where I wasn't in her life like I should have been. I can only imagine how that must have felt for her, growing up knowing her father was Muhammad Ali, but not having him there to tuck her in at night or cheer her on from the sidelines. That kind of absence leaves a mark. It's a wound I know I caused, and it's one I'll always regret. And it wasn't just Mia. My other children, Rashida, Maryam, Hannah, Layla, and the rest, they all felt it, in their own ways. Some more than others. They'd see me on TV, larger than life, the champ, the hero. But when the cameras were off, when the crowd had gone home, I wasn't always there for them in the way a father should be. I remember a conversation I had with one of my daughters, years later. She looked me in the eye and said, "Daddy, you were everybody's hero. But sometimes, I just wanted you to be mine." Those words, they hit harder than any punch I ever took in the ring. But you know, being a father is like being a fighter. You make mistakes, you take hits, but you keep going. You try to learn, to do better, to make up for the rounds you lost. In my later years, I tried to mend those relationships. I spent more time with my kids, listened to them, let them tell me how they felt. Some wounds began to heal, others, well, they'll take a lifetime. But I tried. I'm still trying. And to Mia, to all my children, I want to say this: I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the times I wasn't there, for the moments I missed, for the love I didn't show in the way you needed. You deserved better. But know this: I loved you then, I love you now, and I'll love you forever. You are my greatest achievement, greater than any title, any belt, any fight. They call me the greatest, but if I could go back, I'd trade some of that greatness for more time with you. Because at the end of the day, it's not the cheers of the crowd or the glory of the ring that matters, it's the love of your family. That's the real prize. And I'm still fighting for it. Chapter 4: Declining Health and Physical Consequences of Boxing. You know, people used to look at me and say, "There's Muhammad Ali, the fastest, the strongest, the greatest." I was quick on my feet, sharp with my words, and even sharper with my fists. But time has a way of humbling even the greatest. In my later years, the body that once danced like a butterfly and stung like a bee started to slow down. My hands, once so steady, began to tremble. My voice, that booming voice that could shake the rafters, grew softer, harder to understand. Parkinson's disease, they called it. A cruel thing, Parkinson's. It takes your movements, your speech, your strength, piece by piece. Some say it was the boxing that did it, all those punches I took over the years. And maybe they're right. I can still feel some of those blows, the ones that rattled my brain, that left me seeing stars. The fight with Frazier, the rumble in the jungle, the thrilla in Manila, they weren't just fights, they were wars. Wars I won, but not without a cost. Do I regret it? That's a question I've asked myself many times. Was the glory, the fame, the titles, was it worth the price I paid? I'll be honest with you. There are days when I sit in my chair, my hands shaking, my body aching, and I think about what might have been. What if I'd walked away earlier? What if I'd never stepped into the ring at all? Maybe I'd still have my strength, my voice, my health. Maybe I'd still be that young, invincible man the world fell in love with. But then, I remember the faces. The faces of the people who told me I gave them hope, who said I made them believe in themselves, in something greater. I remember the boy who said, "Ali, because of you, I know I can stand up to my bullies." The woman who said, "You made me proud of who I am." And I realized something. My life, my fights, they weren't just about me. They were about something bigger. Parkinson's may have taken my body, but it didn't take my spirit. It didn't take my will. It didn't take the love I have for the people who stood by me, who cheered for me, who believed in me. You see, being the greatest isn't about being perfect. It's about resilience. It's about standing up when you're knocked down, about finding strength in your weakest moments. And if I had to choose between a life of comfort and a life of meaning, I'd choose meaning every time. So, when you see me now, moving slower, speaking softer, don't pity me. Don't feel sorry for me. Because I'm still here. I'm still fighting, in my own way. And I'm still the greatest, not because of what I did in the ring, but because of what I stood for outside of it. Life is a fight, my friends. And whether you win or lose, it's about how you fight that truly matters. And me? I fought with everything I had, every step of the way. And I'd do it all over again.